I mean, that's a great testament to what that club is doing and what they're offering, and I think that's a good pickup. I like the goalie that they had last year. He's he was a great goalie for them last season. So I think it's a good move. I think the whole conference is getting stronger. I don't know what the Dundee Stars have done, but I think I saw them pick up a couple good guys. So I mean, everything's going to be getting closer, and we said that last year and the year before. Every year that this league, keeps coming back and keeps coming back, the reputation for, the pretty solid life experience that you get, playing in the UK it's so much more comfortable than playing in some of these other countries that these guys are coming from, last season. So it's a big draw. And as players wind their careers down, it's a place that we are starting to put on the map as sort of one of those places you got to play before you retire. And the league's going to continue to pull in good players. So it's good for the rest of the conference to be picking up, players that maybe on our budget this year or whatever, we couldn't make it work. It's a great opportunity for them to get good, experienced players. The Clan does a good job of bringing guys in from other leagues, and then once you're here, it's a hard league to leave because it's very comfortable. It's very comfortable for the families that come along, and that's not something that we take lightly as players, and it's not something that's easy to pass by.
I think certainly the idea about the league for this coming season is going to be much tougher. There's a lot more tough guys. I think the irony is that a lot of teams tooled up because of the Cam Jansen factor, because we know what he did certainly to us and others last season, and of course all these teams sign up all these tough guys and then he doesn't come back. But nevertheless, he'll probably be replaced with a tough guy. And we've brought in guys. You mentioned Ulmer. We've got Jay Rosehill coming in. There'll be certainly a higher degree of toughness coming in this season. Do you think that's a good thing? Because obviously it's going the other way in North America. Do you think it's a good thing for bums on seats and would the players appreciate it?
Well, I think it's a catch-22. I mean, you sacrifice maybe some skill for toughness. I find that this late in a lot of the careers, even tough guys don't really like fighting. I mean, it's hard to find a tough guy that's like, man, I really love going out there and throwing punches and taking punches. Like, it's not the most fun way to make a living. So when you're over here, and I have to assume some of those tough guys that are coming in are coming based on maybe a promise that they're going to get to play a more of a role where they're going to have the puck on their stick more than the stick, laying on the ice. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I think that it's good for bums in the seats if that's what you want to see. If you want to see guys fight, then that's fine. And I don't mind fighting. I mean, Cam Jansen is he's obviously a well-respected fighter, and although I think he was scared of me all season, but I'm just kidding. I love Jenny, but we played together a long time ago. But I'm pretty sure every time on the ice, him and I together would sit there and beak at each other, and I think I would challenge him to something. He'd just be like, "Shut up, Holtzy. I'm not going to do anything with you." So anyway, I think that it's good that we got some tough guys. It's definitely a part of the game. It's definitely a part of the spectator draw. It'll be exciting, but I mean, you're going to see the same people just fighting each other is what's going to happen. It's tough to have the stones to throw with somebody like that. It's great, but if no one's willing to fight you, it's almost like Cam Jansen. Is he a factor, or is he a distraction? I mean, he takes a lot of penalties, and guys don't step up to the plate to fight him. Really, obviously Mac would answer the bell, I think, once, and the guy from Belfast answered with him a couple times. So I mean, it's hard for those guys to find people to throw with because it's just nobody wants to do it. A, we're all pretty old now, and B, it's it isn't fun to throw. It's not fun to punch someone in the face. It hurts your hands. Like, it's not fun to get hit in the face with a punch. It hurts your face. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that it's kind of going back that way. But I'm curious to see how much these guys actually end up throwing, because, like I said, it's It's just something that it's not really present in today's hockey games. Like you mentioned over here, it's disappearing at a very rapid pace, and we'll see if the UK, in the EIHL, if it picks up over there, and if that's what they're going for, great. But it's pointless to have a fighter if you ain't got no one to fight. So. Yeah. We'll see.
I think it was always going to happen with the Clan this season because Gareth and Finner said multiple times through the summer and even part of last season that they made a mistake in not getting like a Fitzgerald back. But you're right. I think everyone's expecting Rosehill to go and fight a lot, and I don't think he will. I think it'll be more on Hendricks because he's got that. There was a big thing with him and Nickerson from Belfast last season where a fight happened, and the way Nickerson landed, he hurt his knee and he was out for most of the season, or he hurt his leg anyway. And I think he blamed Hendricks a bit for that. I remember there was a couple of tweets going about. So, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's good to have players like that and maybe just be a bit of a, as you say, a distraction or even a presence to stop any shenanigans from happening. But I don't think there'll be a big increase in fighting.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, and it's just my opinion. I don't think that we were necessarily lacking a tough guy last year. Obviously, we had McKeever, who would, he'd fight anyone really if it was the appropriate time to do so. But I think that in general, our problem was just whole team toughness. There were a lot of situations where I thought that whoever was on the ice had sort of the unwritten obligation to go in and do something, and we shied away from that too much as a team in general. So. That's something that I hope that the entire team, not just Rosehill and not just Hendricks, but the entire team can pick that up and do kind of more of what's expected of us as individual players and the toughness that hockey players have to bring on every level from the Ben Davies of the world to the Matt Keiths, to the Pitts, to the Levitts, to everybody. Sometimes everyone just got to get their hands dirty a little bit. And I think that was more of what our group was lacking last season, as opposed to just having a tough guy. Because, you can count probably on one hand the amount of fights that Cam Jansen ended up in last year. And that's, I don't know if that's getting the bang for your buck or whatever it is that you're going for. But I think just as a team, the Clan, on an every player basis needed to be, have a little bit more grit and a little bit more of a tougher attitude, and things, maybe would have gone a different way in some situations.
In terms of the league, Tony at DS Frank Vickers, who's a regular contributor of questions, he asked, what was the most surprising thing about playing in the UK Hockey League last year?
I think that I was surprised and pleasantly surprised at the skill level. I wrote it off for many years as just sort of a shitty league with bad players. And I think that the stigma that it had for a lot of guys that were playing in higher levels and in other countries. But when I got there and, you see, the amount of guys with NHL experience, and you see the guys coming over with, a lot of AHL games and that have played in some of the good European leagues. And I never one game, maybe the first couple games of the year when Fife was real bad. And then I think we went to Edinburgh. The rest of the year, I thought it was going to be easier for me to just sort of stay at the top of the leaderboard, but it was a battle from game one to game whatever to stick up there, and with Bouncy having the season that he was, it was fun to chase him, and with how good Cardiff was playing, it was a great challenge for me, and that was in itself surprising. I thought it was going to be a cakewalk, and it really wasn't. It was tough.
And of course, you had Stephen coaching you from the sidelines as well, which probably didn't help too much.
Right. I had to rein in my puck handling just to keep Stephen alive. So there was a lot of time. There were a lot of times where I'd go out there and I'd dick around with the puck, and then there'd be a whistle, and I'd look over at Stephen because he'd be, just not impressed. Not impressed with some of my. But to my own credit, I only gave up, I think, one goal based on a screw up with the puck, and I should have had it. I should have saved it. I think that it's going to be a transition, going from a fan's perspective, going from having a goaltender who played the puck a lot, to maybe stereotypically European goalies don't handle the puck very much. So I think it's going to be a big transition to see. Obviously, he's a smaller presence, and Steven might miss me now that you didn't know what you had, Steven, until it was gone. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes this year with the puck handling and the goaltending.
What do you think of the proposed equipment changes in the NHL then? What do you think of that? It's obviously equipment smaller again. You're a big guy.
Official? Is it official? Are they doing it?
It's proposed just now. I don't think it's been made official, but as a big guy, would it really affect you? And obviously, the Leafs have just signed Jonas Enroth, who's probably about the same size as
bad pickup.
It's a backup. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's
bad pickup. I actually have a meeting with the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2 weeks, so I'll tell them that the boys in Scotland say, Shanny, that was a terrible pickup. I think it's stupid. I think it's boo-hoo. Players aren't scoring enough goals. I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with the game of hockey right now. Like, I really don't. If anything, I would put the 2-line pass back in or something. Like, I don't know. I don't see why they have to keep making the goalie smaller. Obviously, you can't touch the net. That would be just really stupid if you made the nets bigger. I think everyone would quit hockey if you made the nets bigger. But I don't think that. I just don't understand why they keep making the goalie smaller. I mean, it's getting to the point now where goalies, with the velocity that pucks are coming and the speed of the game, goalies, I mean, it looks like we got this kind of big suit of armor, but that puck still finds a way to be quite painful. And the more, the smaller that they continue to make the equipment, the more vulnerable, we are and we feel standing in the net. And that's, I think that there's going to come a point where the goalies are going to go on strike and say, "Hey, we're not doing this. Like, we're not going to continue. If we're all going back to small gear, I think all the players need to go back to using wood and get rid of all the composite sticks. That adds like 20 miles an hour per shot. So I think that they need to get rid of those if they continue to do this. I think it's dumb. I think they're just crying because goaltenders have obviously over the past maybe 20 years worked extremely hard at our craft to make it as good and efficient as possible. And I think that there's been developments in goaltending that have far surpassed developments in offense and shooting. I mean, why is Alex Ovechkin able to score so many goals than other people? Why is Sidney Crosby able to score so many goals than other people? It's because it's not because of the equipment. It's because they're smart and they use deception. That's how they score. Players need to work on being more tricky and being more deceptive in their shooting, and that's how you're going to get more goals. Work on shooting, work on accuracy. Don't miss the net so much. So as far as to me and all of this stuff, I think it's ridiculous. If they continue to make the goalies small like this, I think that there's going to be pushback. And goalies are going to get vocal, and it's going to get bad. So yeah. I think it's dumb, and it's really, really affecting goalies that aren't 6'6", like Ben Bishop. Like if you're not Ben Bishop, and if you're not Craig Anderson, and if you're not Craig Anderson, is it Craig Anderson?
Yeah. There's an excellent article that was written. It just came out on social media this week from, I can't remember, somebody related to the Goalies Guild or one of the other goalie type accounts, and it backs up exactly what you're saying. Starting off with the kind of assumption that goalies are not as athletic as they used to be, so it kind of kills off that theory and then moves on from there. I'll send you a link to it because I read it and it was very, very interesting. But to me it's more evidence of the fact the analytics side of things has gone mad, and it's not.
I know. But but if you look at it, I mean, no matter how many times that they make the equipment smaller, or how many times they try and affect the goalie, they make the crease small. They've already made the crease smaller like twice. We find a way. We just adapt and we find a way, and we work very hard at our craft to level the playing field again. And lo and behold, the numbers look very similar to the years past. So whatever, they can keep crying and whining because they're not scoring enough goals. Although I disagree with that. I think there's plenty of goals scored in the NHL. So I don't know. Whatever. It's not my business. It doesn't affect my business, so I don't really care if they make the goalie smaller anymore. I don't have to do it.
Okay. Well, on that point, On that point, Scott Devon at SD Clan 1976 has asked, will you be going to any NHL